So the next step in configuring networking for our virtual environment is to get NAT going and working for our clients on the inside of our network. Remember, NAT allows us to use private IP addresses to access public networks. And so Server 1 is going to be the portal for everything we do in the class. And so Server 1 has to be set up as a NAT server. And there's a couple things we need to do to get that going. Flip over here. First thing we'll need to do is put this rule in IP table, which basically enables NAT for the system. We'll be talking more about IP tables later on in the class when we actually get into securing all the things that we're configuring throughout the weeks. Basically what's happening here is I'm running IP tables. I'm telling it to run NAT on ETH1, which is the interface that faces out to the internet, and we're going to be running it for this network. And masquerade is basically another way of saying one-to-many NAT situation that you typically would set up. So that command right there, just like you see it right there, would be what you would need to type. I'll press enter here. Once again, your book, the link to your book also shows that in there. Now, there are a couple other things we need to enable before this is going to work. Because right now, we have two interfaces, one on the internet and one on the internal network. But the router is not routing at all. We can turn on routing by echoing into proc, the number 1, which basically enables. And what we'll do is redirect it into proc, sys, net, IP version 4, IP _ forward. Okay, that's going to turn it on, so it would work now, but we want to make sure that it's always going to survive a reboot, because remember, if it doesn't survive a reboot, it's no good. So we have to edit this file here, syscontrol file, press enter, and we want to do the same thing. We want to come right here and change that 0 to a 1. Save the file. Get out. Now the other thing we need to do, so we've got routing set up, that's going to come back up, but until we save the IP tables, that's not going to come back up and survive a reboot. So what we want to do is init.d IP tables, save, press enter. All right, so we've saved all our configuration, and now all we need to do is go and test it. So I have my little XP client out here, which I'll bring up right now. And I'll open this up. This is the one we've been pinging and playing with our bonding. Now notice we don't have any information because we don't have a DHCP server. That's the next thing we're going to set up in class, because there is nothing more boring than manually coming in here and doing this. So I would have to think about it. If I had 50 machines to work with, I would have to go to every single one of them and input this information, and that's why DHCP is so important. So we'll click OK here, click all right. So we told it, gave it an IP address, we told it that gateway is server 1, we told it to use Google's DNS servers, and now let's go see if it's working. Open up this, and we'll see if we can get to slcc.edu. Bingo! So NAT's working. So we have everything set up right here, right now, and it's going through the bonded interface, by the way. Right here, you take a snapshot. It's working for you. Excellent. Next, we're going to set up DHCP. So we don't have to go through and configure all our hosts. It's one of the most important services we have on our network, and it's not difficult to configure. So server 1, DHCP next.